Hey CCF, Rick coming with what I hope is an encouraging word for you today, but also I hope that you'll stay to the end of the video because we have a couple of updates around reopening church and then also our town hall meeting coming up. But first, the encouraging word. I just want to encourage you today if you're like me, we're feeling like we're so done with this, aren't we? This whole COVID thing, this whole being limited to who you can connect with and all that. And I know I am. I just feel like, hey, I'm done with this. But as we've talked about this before, and that is, I certainly hope that your perspective isn't just to hurry and get through this as fast as you can, but that you're asking yourself, who am I becoming through this? Who or what am I allowing God to work in my life? And how am I allowing Him? How am I going to be different? How am I going to be better because I went through this? And it made me think about, boiling water. Have you ever stood over the stove and you're just standing there and you're waiting for the water to boil and it seems like it takes forever because you're standing there just saying, come on, be done now, be done now. Or the same thing is true if you're cooking something in the oven, right? If you've got your chicken in there and you've got your meat thermometer stuck in the chicken and you're just like, it's been cooking for 2 hours and you're opening it up and you're wondering, just be done already, be done. But just like with the water, it needs to be at a certain degree so that it can boil your pasta or whatever you're cooking. Your chicken needs to be at a right temperature in order for it to taste right, but not just taste right so that people don't get sick. And I want to encourage you, just don't be sitting there thinking, I'm done with this already. I'm done with this, and start going down this complaining mode. Instead, be asking yourself again, what is God trying to do inside of you? Who can you become on the other side of this? How are you going to be different? And the other morning when I was reading through 2 Corinthians chapter 4, it brought this same idea to mind again, because inside of every Christ follower is the love of God. Inside of every Christ follower, we actually have God's love inside of us. We have His light inside of us. And it's trying to break through. And here's the way that Paul put it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and verse number 7, it says, we now have this light shining in us, in our hearts, but we ourselves are like fragile clay jars containing this great treasure. Now stop right there. And here the Apostle Paul says that we have this light shining in our hearts. So that's the light of Christ inside of us. And remember the way that Jesus put it, He says that we need to be like a light that's set on a hill for a city to be able to be seen. That's the way our lives are supposed to shine, in that way. And now here Paul says, no, we have this light inside of us, but we ourselves are, and he calls them, we ourselves are like fragile clay jars. I know some of us feel like we're fragile. We're this clay jar and like, this needs to hurry up and be done or I'm going to be broke. But notice what he says. He goes on and he says in verse 8, he says, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies. Don't you want more of Jesus to be seen in you? I know that is certainly true in my life. And so, again, I just want to encourage you. Let's change our mentality, even though we all want this to be done. But let's stop standing in front of the stove, waiting for the water to boil. Let's stop standing in front of the oven, keeping on pulling the oven door down and, checking to see, is it done yet? Is it done yet? And instead, let's let God just do what he does inside of us. Let's let him continue to bring change in us. Let's welcome it. Let's say, God, continue to bring the change inside of me so that I'll be different on the other side of this whole COVID-19 thing. And as you know, anything that's rushed, if you rush boiling water, it's not going to cook the food right because it needs to boil. You can't rush a chicken to hurry up and cook. It's just got to take its time and it's to cook. And the same thing is true with you and I. You can't rush what God's trying to do inside of us. So let's just calm down. Let's welcome the changes that God is trying to make us, to the changes he's trying to do inside of us to help us to become more like him. Man, I hope that's encouraging to you. I hope that you'll pray for me as I have prayed for many of you. And we hope to see you online this coming Sunday. We have a guest speaker this coming Sunday. We've asked Pastor Dave Goodori. He's our founding pastor of our church. And he's going to come back and he's going to share God's word with us as we continue that series, Life-Giving Words. And then also I just wanted to update you on a couple of things. I know a lot of people are asking and you're wondering, when are we going to reopen? And here's what I want to say, first and foremost. There's no one who wants to reopen more than I do. There's no one who wants to reopen church more than our team, our staff, our elders. We all want to, we want to open the doors as quick as we can. But what's number one is that we're going to reopen as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe to reopen. We're going to reopen as soon as we're able to continue to open and create a worship experience, but also understanding what we're going to have to comply to with the whole with the guidelines that are given to us from our governor. So we don't know yet what that's going to look like. And when we do reopen, we know that it probably won't look like you have experienced in the past. It may look a little bit different. But again, we don't have enough details yet to be able to give any details. But I promise you, as soon as we are able to gather that information, as soon as we're able to reopen safely, as soon as we're able to reopen and comply with all of the guidelines that are being suggested to us where there's large gatherings, we're going to do that. In the meantime, we are thinking about some reopening phases. So maybe we won't be able to all meet together in a large group like we have in the past to start out with, but maybe we will be able to meet in smaller groups. So anyway, all that is to say, to answer your question about when are we going to reopen, we don't know, but I promise you it will be as soon as we safely can. So keep that in prayer, and also we invite you to our town hall meeting. It's going to be through Zoom. If you haven't received information about that yet, or if we don't have your email and you want to be a part of that, make sure you email the office. It's office@ccfchurch.net so that you can get the link to the Zoom meeting this coming Saturday, I believe, is when we're sending out that link for the town hall meeting, and it's going to be this coming Sunday at 6 o'clock. So I hope to see you there, and we will get through this becoming better, becoming more like Jesus, if we're going to let him do that work inside of us. Hey, we'll see you soon.